worried saying it in front of you.
You think you're the first one I've ever met?
Well, you met Christopher Hitchens, didn't you?
I certainly did.
What was he like off the debating and things?
Because it is not democratic at all.
Is reform just a protest vote?
Oh, good heavens, no.
It's been interesting watching Farage's rise. Would you believe he will be Prime Minister?
Yes, I do.
It's my favourite time of the day.
Let's just look at Stop the Boats. Belgium did it, Australia did it. We can do it if we've got the will. You can do it physically, but the greater likelihood is...
If this is not a national security emergency, I don't know what is.
Is Islam perhaps incompatible with this country's values?
The fundamentalist Muslim.
Actually, it's sort of 40% who want Sharia law.
I didn't know it was that high.
What would you say to those who do want to bring back capital punishment?
Well, I do. I have believed in it for this reason.
Why don't you want gay marriage?
Because I believe...
Obsession from some religious people about gay. I wonder
The obsession, actually, you see, you homed in right away. I gave you abortion, I gave you women priests, I gave you gay marriage. You homed in immediately.
Shouldn't you feel that they are sinful or something?
No, why should I feel that?
What else does reform do?
Immigration, woke, freedom, above all freedom. I grew up in a free country.
Where do you stand on deportation?
We'll deport as hard and as fast as we can.
It might cause riots, though.
You cannot be blackmailed into not doing what you have to do.
Can I ask you a favour? Heretic subscribers are through the roof, but only 43% of you watching are actually subscribed, which is mad. If you enjoy thought-provoking conversations and want to help this channel grow, hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference. For those who are maybe American or something, who would you say you are?
Well, I'm a former Member of Parliament, former government minister, former member of the European Parliament for 7 whole long months while I tried to get Brexit. Never been so keen on getting my P45 in my life as I was during those months in the European Parliament. And for the Americans, P45 is what you get when you leave your job. I've written novels, 2 of which were Times bestsellers. And I've done a lot in the entertainment line. I've been in 6 pantomimes. And I've been on a programme called Strictly Come Dancing, which I think the Americans would recognise as Dancing with the Stars.
I see. It's a remarkable career. I'm sort of wondering how you've managed to do it all, because a lot of the things you've said, and we'll get into those, a lot of your beliefs are not usually accepted in the mainstream. I'm not allowed to just be on TV and talk about these things. What do you think it is about you that has enabled you to do so?
Well, first of all, of course, I was a politician for a very long time. So people knew what I thought because I always said so. I've never been one to say what I think people want to hear. Partly that stems from religious conviction. St. Paul said, "We believe and therefore speak." And of course, Christ himself said, well, you don't put your light under a bushel, that's pretty pointless. So,
what's a bushel?
A bushel is basically a jar. And the idea is an opaque one, so you wouldn't put your light under that and then shut it out. What's the point?
Yeah.
So therefore, they already knew what I thought. When I retired from politics, I did Strictly Come Dancing right away, and it was literally within a couple of months of retiring. And that sent me off on a whole new course, which I'd never predicted. I mean, that wasn't what my retirement was supposed to look like, but it did. In the entertainment industry, basically. And I was there until I joined the Brexit Party in 2019 and stood for the European Parliament. And at that point where I re-entered politics quite suddenly, the entertainment industry didn't want to know me. I was pulled from a pantomime. But nevertheless, it was worth doing. And I live on Dartmoor, and I have a cat.
Okay, well, why not? Cats are good. When you were in that entertainment industry, did you come up against any kind of hurdles because of your political views?
No, I didn't. If I did, I was unaware of it. Put it that way. There was nothing overt. I was even on at the Royal Opera House for a week. Don't worry, I wasn't singing. I can't sing. It was a spoken role. It was all in French as well.
Which,
unlike you, I'm not a linguist. But they were quite pleased with my accent. So
you learned it just for the role?
Yes.
That's
I didn't
remarkable.
learn the whole language. I mean, I had schoolgirl French. We all do, you know.
Yeah.
But I hadn't done anything since O-levels, which was 1963. But when I was in the European Parliament, quite suddenly I was speaking a bit more French than usual. And I think if I'd stayed there any length of time, I would have become quite proficient.
Quite French. They would have converted you to their ways.
I doubt it.
No.
I doubt it. I mean, one of their ways is rare meat. Ooh.
What's rare meat? Would that be like stuffing the ducks and things?
No, I mean, it's like, you know, meat where the blood is practically coming out.
Oh.
And the French do not like meat well done. So if you ask for a steak and you ask for it to be well done, the chances are, and I'm serious about this because it's happened to me, the chef says no.
Wow.
That's literally happened to me. So when I was in Brussels, I found a little restaurant, and the first evening I went in, I said, I forget what I ordered, but it was meat, it may have been lamb, may have been steak, and I said, très bien, très bien, très bien. And a few nights later I went in again, and the waitress said to me, très bien, très bien. And it always came well done.
I see. Is that how they say it? I thought it was like bien fait or something.
It may well be, but to suit me, they were saying très bien.
They're just saying very good, Anne. Very good. Very good. I'm just interested. That's really, I didn't realize that. So you didn't have any kind of like media pining for entertainment, or you weren't singing when you were younger and things like that?
Gracious, no.
Dancing.
I mean, absolutely not. It was all completely accidental. I mean, I had done some television documentaries, you know, the serious stuff. But when it came to entertainment, they asked me to do Strictly. They asked me every year for 5 years. And I said, no, go away, no. But then when I retired, I thought it's okay now. You know, I don't owe anybody any duty of time or dignity. I can do what I like. So I did it. I honestly expected, I can put my hand on my heart when saying this, I honestly expected that I would be out in the first 2-3 weeks. That if I lasted 4, it would be miraculous. And I got into week 10 out of 12 weeks. And it was solely because I hadn't a clue what I was doing. I mean, Anton just abandoned dancing and in the first 5 minutes and said, right, well, we'll mess about. You can quite phrase it like that, but, you know. And it was so successful, they asked me to do the live tour. As a result of the live tour, Craig Revel Horwood asked me to go into pantomime with him. So into pantomime I went, and then I did that, 6 times, different roles. I love the wicked roles, much better than the good fairy, and I like the wicked roles.
That's more fun.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting, though, that you're sort of, in politics, the sort of pantomime villain, like Farage might be, like many, like in some respects I am on doing all of this, but people really like you. So
some do, some don't. I'm Marmite.
I suppose, but it still feels like it shows the difference between sort of the media elite and the media portrayal and then and reality, which is, you're very quite popular.
Well, maybe, as I say, I think I'm pretty Marmite.
You are now Reform spokesperson, is that what
I am?
You are? Okay.
Well, I say spokesman because I'm so old-fashioned.
Yes.
I don't have this silly nonsense about, I say we don't talk about a Hugh person, we talk about a human, so I'm a spokesman, yeah.
Okay, you are the Reform spokesman.
Yes.
And is Reform just a protest vote?
Oh, good heavens, no. I mean, just look at the polling, just look at the results in the council elections, look at the most recent by-election. We're certainly not just a protest party. I think when we started out, and we've only been in being for 3 or 4 years, I think when we started out, people might have seen us that way. But because politics is such an awful shambles at the moment, and because we are speaking from the heart and we're saying what we will do about the things that people are most concerned about. I mean, immigration, woke, freedom, above all freedom. I grew up in a free country. So I don't think we're just a protest party anymore. I think we started life that way.
This video is a paid collaboration with one of my favourite sponsors, My Heritage. With all the talk these days about the loss of British culture, even the Prime Minister referring to us as an island of strangers, My Heritage helps you reconnect with your roots and be part of something truly meaningful. One of the best features is instant discoveries. With just one click, you can uncover 40 to 50 new family members or even discover old photos you've never seen before. It's genuinely that quick and easy. Let me show you what that looks like for me. I've often said I have no idea who my family was beyond my great-grandparents. So I have, as I view this, discovered my grandpa's uncle's great-grandpa and then his entire family. It's now this huge web of connections stretching across generations, and it helped me learn more about my grandparents and deepen the emotional bond I had with my grandfather. And recently, I made an incredible discovery closer to home. I found a family member that nobody, not even they, knew about, and we now have a bond in real life. I can't say more, but it has completely changed how we see our family story. That's the kind of thing My Heritage can do. Start your journey now with a 14-day free trial using my link below, or scan the QR code on screen to get started. Who knows what you'll uncover? What are some of the policies? I suppose people are sometimes saying, okay, well, they want to stop the boats, of course, but what else does reform do? Where are they politically?
Let's just look at stop the boats. I mean, that is where we've got a comprehensive policy. Now, we say, okay, we're going to stop the boats, and before anybody says it can't be done, Belgium did it, Australia did it, we can do it if we got the will. But some will get through. Some are bound to get through. So we say at that point, we've also got another plan, We don't just give up and put them in hotels. We will detain them in secure reception centres. So we know where they are. Their asylum will be refused because they've come quite clearly from a safe country, which is France. And we shall know where they are in order to send them back to their own country. So we have a comprehensive policy. Similarly, we're at the moment developing, and I can't tell you what we'll decide because there are all sorts of ideas in the air, looking at social care, which is another very big concern. Most people are very worried about it. Looking at the NHS, and certainly looking at levels of taxation. So, and above all, of course, freedom of expression. There should be no such thing as non-crime hate incidents. It's either a crime or it isn't, and if it isn't, then the police have no business poking around in it. So we will restore freedom of speech. Not freedom to incite violence, but freedom of speech.
Where do you sit economically, right, left, centre?
Right of centre.
Okay.
Economically, I mean, I believe in low taxes. I believe in incentives for business. I believe in encouraging big business because it creates jobs and prosperity. So I sit to the right economically. I'm probably a Thatcherite. That's probably the best description.
Okay. And reform in general?
And reform in general, yeah.
Okay. Turning the boats around, I asked someone recently, Konstantin Kisin, he came on and I said, how do you turn the boats around? He said, well, this is going to sound complicated, but you turn them around. Yeah. And I thought, oh, okay. And then the next day I thought, well, okay, but how have you thought about physically how one does that? In
international law, first of all, you're allowed to prevent anything coming into your own waters. You are allowed in international law to tow anything that is in your own waters unlawfully out of your own waters. So you can do those things. And what the Belgians did was simply every time a boat left, let me just explain the background to that because some people won't know it. Migrants began to congregate on Belgian shores like they do at Calais and in France. And the Belgians said, we don't want this. We don't want this. So every time a boat left for Britain, they followed it and made it turn round so that you always ended up where you started. Well, after a while, of course, what did they do? They toddled off back to France. Wow. So, it can be done. You can do it physically, but the greater likelihood is that you simply instruct it to turn round. And if it won't, then you can take them on board and take them.
I see. I suppose there was...
We're not going to run risks. If what is underneath your question is, will we let people drown? No, of course we won't. That's not what it's about. It's about frustrating people. It's about turning them round every single time, like the Belgians did. So in the end, they give up.
That sounds a lot more sensible than letting them drown, which some people do say.
Wouldn't let them drown. Wouldn't dream of it.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? The Belgians, I suppose, had an incentive because it was now migrants will go to France.
Yeah.
There's not that incentive for the French, is there, I suppose?
There's no incentive for the French. I mean, that is why we should not have been giving them the money that we've been giving them, because we've been getting nothing for it. Because as you rightly say, there's no incentive there. They're delighted when the boats depart for Britain, because it's one less burden on France.
Probably organising it themselves.
So, I don't think they're doing that. But they are being pretty unresponsive. So the incentive is all ours. We want to stop them coming, and we will. And as I say, a few will get through. We're not going to claim 100%. We won't stop 100%. But those that we do stop, we will then detain. They won't be in hotels. They won't be free. I think one of the things that people don't realise is that a huge magnet for unlawful migration in this country, a huge magnet, is the fact that, unlike the rest of Europe, we don't have any national identity cards. We don't practice detention. So we put them in hotels where they are free to come and go. And therefore, at the point where they think they're going to be refused, what we do have is a flourishing underground economy. And that's where they disappear.
I feel like one of the underlying, I suppose, parts of Brexit was a bit of a protest vote about immigration. But even knowing it wasn't going to stop anything, if anything, we're going to get more immigration. I'm talking legal immigration from outside of Europe, which I don't think people really want. What happens now? Because we've got a declining aging population, if you know what you know, and we apparently need immigration. But how do we get the right kind of immigration?
Well, you get the right kind of immigration through control of the visa system and through being very strict about the issuing of those visas. So you don't issue them to all the dependents as well. You give it to the person. And also, it will be restricted to areas where we actually need to import labour. So the care sector, for example, the NHS to start with before our policies for encouraging retention actually take off, and that'll be a few years. That is how you control a visa system now. Today, it's been in the papers that still we don't know how many actually leave when their visas run out. We don't know. There are no exit checks. Now, when I was immigrations minister in the mid-90s, that was a big thorn in our side. But of course, since then, we've had the computer age. And I had just assumed in my naivety, I never checked it out, but I just assumed that, 30 years on, we just had computer checks on when people came and went. Nope.
So we just have no idea who's
we don't know who's gone and who's stayed or who's overstayed.
How do we have any idea? Because a lot of people talk about, for example, the Muslim population of the United Kingdom. They'll say, it's about 8%, 6%. I don't know. Do we even have any idea?
No. We don't know the exact number of people who are in this country who shouldn't be, either because they entered perfectly lawfully but then overstayed, or because they've entered unlawfully. I know we tend to think of the small boats, but there are a lot of other ways of coming in unlawfully. Heathrow, all the time. Lorries over the channel, all the time. There are lots of ways of coming in. And of course, if somebody has successfully entered the country unlawfully, you're not going to know about it.
In terms of legal immigration,
yes,
is it possible for a party such as Reform to look at people's beliefs, and is Islam perhaps incompatible with this country's values?
I don't think we would want to be basing our visa system on beliefs. But I do think, and we wouldn't do that, but I do think you're right that the fundamentalist Muslims, not the ordinary, run-of-the-mill Muslims, many of whom have been here for decades, brought their children up here, but the fundamentalist Muslims who cause the terror problems, obviously, we would be much better placed if we knew exactly who was here and who isn't.
Well, it's also, I guess the issue is it's not just the, I used to think it was the 0.1%. That's what my parents taught me. Oh, don't worry, it's only 0.1%. And actually it's sort of 40% who want Sharia law.
I didn't know it was that high, but certainly there is, so I'm not going to quote it that high because I don't know it. But certainly there is a substantial minority that want Sharia law. Now, as far as I'm concerned, there's only one law in one country, one law for all, absolutely every last citizen. And I have always thought that. And I that will certainly be Reform policy, one law for all.
Do you think the decline in Christian values and adherence to Christian practices has been a problem in this country?
Yes, massive one. When I was growing up in the 50s, every child learnt scripture. Now, even if at the end of it you weren't a believer, what you did have was a very good grasp of the culture which underlies Shakespeare and underlies Milton. You could understand those references, but that's gone. Indeed, when I was an MP on one occasion, I was sitting in the tea room And one of my colleagues complained that his girth was increasing because his wife's cooking was so good. And I said, oh, men's excuses don't change, do they? The woman tempted me and I did eat. He hadn't a clue what I was talking about. He hadn't a clue.
That's remarkable they wouldn't know that reference.
Hadn't a clue.
We did all that. I learned all about Jonah and the whale. And
but
stuff.
I think you have a Jewish background, don't you? So you would know the Old Testament well. But this guy didn't.
So it's a Judeo-Christian, and some of the, I mean, the Jews are such a small minority now that I guess they do tend to learn that stuff. It's interesting because I told you before we came on, I'm an atheist. I feel worried saying it in front of you, but well, that's not what you said beforehand.
Do you think you're the first? Do you think you're the first one I've ever met?
Well, you met Christopher Hitchens, didn't you?
I certainly did.
What was he like off the debating and things?
Before that debate, I had last met him at Oxford when I was a student. He had left. But he came back and we were debating something or other to do with communism. I can't remember what it was, but we were on opposite sides. And on that occasion, my side roundly won. I hadn't seen him since. And of course, on the second occasion, when we were doing the Catholic Church, his side won.
I see. But what does that mean? Because people go in and then they say what side they are. But I would deliberately say I'm the other side so that I can say that, yeah, everyone must do that.
Yeah, well, I don't know about everyone, but some people will, and it can make the difference. And I'm always very dubious. Right from the start, the audience was hostile, so I thought, right, So
why do they do that? Because I'm an atheist, right? But I would like to sit and go, oh, this is really interesting. And you spoke so brilliantly. It's like, oh, let's listen to what Anne has to say.
Well, I can't tell you why they do it, but I refused. It was Intelligence Squared. I refused a couple of subsequent invitations from them on different subjects. I said, no, I just don't like the way it's run.
It seems mad. I would talk to anyone on any side of the political spectrum. What have you got to say? I'm interested. Let's see.
Well, I take the same line.
Do you think that's a Christian value?
I know. I think a Christian value would be to spread the good news, the gospel news. But certainly tolerance is a Christian value.
Yeah, that's interesting. And gosh, do you think woke culture sort of come into that vacuum? It's a really hard thing for me because as an atheist, I sort of grew up with these ideas, well, since I was 14 or 15, I guess, of just like, hey, we don't need that kind of God stuff. And then you look at the places that have adopted atheism, and I don't know, the Stasi atheists, I think the Bolsheviks, and all of those. Yes. What a disaster that became.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think we've lost something. I think we're now a pretty vengeful society. Lock them up and throw away the key. Don't treat people who are in for serious crimes. Let them go blind, let them go paralysed. MPs saying that. And it is a very, very unforgiving society, which doesn't appear now to place the emphasis on redemption as we used to.
That's quite a right-wing criticism, isn't it? A criticism of the right.
If you think of Profumo, you know who Profumo was?
I'm going to nod along as though I do.
Right, okay. Well, Profumo was a Conservative minister, war minister, who had an affair with somebody who in turn was having an affair with a Russian spy. And he had to resign and all the rest of it. And he went and worked with a charity called Toynbee Hall in the East End. And he worked in that charity. And he worked there for the rest of his life. And won the respect of absolutely everybody, including the Queen. He sat next to the Queen at a big charity do because what he had done was respected. Now you wouldn't have a hope of that. You'd have the press all round there with their cameras, saying, "How dare you work for this very respected charity?" And it's become hideous. It really has. And recently, Wayne Couzens, he's the man who abducted and murdered Sarah Everard, sustained a spinal injury of some sort, and was admitted to hospital to have it treated. And an MP, not just, any old green ink. The MP actually said, it was an appalling waste of money.
That is, you're criticising, I think, the right. That's the right often, isn't it?
No, that was a Labour MP.
Yeah, well, that's right, yeah.
It was a Labour MP.
So I guess it's both sides, isn't it? Where they just,
There is right across society at the moment. It's certainly not confined to either or political wing. Right across society at the moment, there is a failure to make allowances, to forgive, to insist on civilised treatment. Gone.
It's very hard because it feels like there's a wired-in human feeling when you see that was he was the police officer who abducted her and killed her.
He killed her.
It's very hard to turn the other cheek.
Oh, I'm not asking people to turn the other cheek, but I am saying that if he needs hospital treatment, then he should get it. Are we really saying, or just leave him there paralysed? If we won't hang people, if we've decided we're going to lock them up for life instead, then we have a duty of care.
What do you think about, what would you say to those who do want to bring back capital punishment?
Well, I do.
You do?
I do. It's not coming back. I mean, make that very clear, because you just don't get the parliamentary majority or anything like it. But I have believed in it for this reason. I'm not interested in it as a retribution. Not at all. And if it was only a retribution, I wouldn't be in favour. But if it's a deterrent, then it saves innocent life. And if you look at the period immediately after the death penalty was abolished in this country, for 5 years after that, we still continued to collect statistics, murder statistics, based on the distinction between capital murder, which would have earned the death penalty, and non-capital murder. And the capital murder rate went up 125%. Now, tell me it's not a deterrent.
Wow. That's really interesting, because I suppose, my feeling is, because I'm not murderous,
I'm pleased to hear it.
Yeah, well, not today anyway, Anne. It's your lucky day. My feeling is, prison is enough. I mean, prison for life. Oh, I don't want that. So there must be people going, I really want to murder this person. However, if I go to prison, I can handle that for my life. But if I'm going to be hanged, I don't want to do it.
Well, the statistics would indicate that. Yes,
How
as
mad.
I say, the rise was 125%.
Can you imagine being in that mindset?
No, but then, I think anybody who's ever been mildly, because that's how it affects most of us, mildly jealous or mildly angry or mildly fed up with somebody or desperate to get out of, a marriage or whatever it might be. I think if you've ever had those mild feelings, what you've got to do is try and gross them up. And that's where the murderer is at.
Do you think?
He's grossed up.
Or is it just a totally different, almost a different language?
And there's also that too. But then you think of the number of murderers like Wayne Couzens, who lived a perfectly normal life until then.
Yeah, what did he do? He just suddenly decided one day, I'm just going to go to the park and kill a woman.
Well, it was COVID, of course.
Yeah.
So anybody who was out on the streets shouldn't have been, unless they were an emergency worker. She shouldn't have been. And therefore she took it at face value when he said, get in the police car. She took that at face value. Well, this was a policeman, operating on duty. No, it wasn't.
What must have
It was a policeman, but not carrying out his duty.
Just horrible.
Well, horrible at the point where she must have realised.
Would you have...
horrible.
With capital punishment, would you have gotten rid of him?
Yes, because I've always said this. If you are going to restore capital punishment, and I don't think we are, but if Britain did do that, then I think you can only do it on the basis of direct evidence rather than circumstantial evidence. So, and that, of course, was direct because we got him on the cameras and all the rest of it. DNA is direct evidence. For example, if we'd had DNA at the time, they would never have hanged Timothy Evans for the crimes that John Christie carried out. So I've always said there has to be direct evidence and there has to be premeditation.
I see.
You don't just hit somebody in a rage and happen to kill them. You've got to have planned it.
Oh, God, it's complicated.
It's very complicated, but I believe it to be worth doing.
Yeah.
But it will remain, it will never be, at least I sincerely hope it won't be, any party's policy. It will remain a conscience issue, which is why I don't think we'll ever get it through the Commons.
I guess the biggest, you've hit on the biggest issue, which is Blackwell's ratio, is it? 10 for every 10 men, there's one's innocent or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's nothing like as high as that. If you look at the post-war, that's the best period to look at because that was when we had the most restrictive requirements for hanging. Premeditation was one of them. they try to define premeditation by the method you used. So if you poisoned your wife, you could hang. If you thought, well, if I poison them, I'm going to hang, I know, I'll creep up behind her and bang her on the head with a saucepan.
That's the problem. You get around it.
Well, people try. But the fact is, it is a deterrent.
You have to be damn sure, though. Really sure.
Well, I've just said direct.
No, I know you have. But
direct evidence. Yeah.
But even that, you still, 1 out of every 100, 1 out of 1,000 will seem like direct evidence and might not be.
Well, yeah, I'm old enough to remember all the terrible controversy about a chap called Hanratty who was hanged. And, he was innocent. Oh, yes, he was definitely innocent. And then DNA came along and they applied it and he wasn't innocent after all.
Well, yeah, but it must happen. I mean, just statistically, it will happen.
Very, very occasionally, perhaps. But as I say, if you draw the criteria tightly enough, direct evidence and premeditation, then you should pretty well be safe.
Where do you stand on deportation? And should reform get in? Will they sort of go about finding people?
We certainly will.
Yeah.
I think people have misunderstood what Nigel Farage said. He didn't say, deportation's useless. What he said was, it's not the answer. The answer is obviously to stop the boats before they come in, because deportation only happens after they've got in. It's an admission of failure if you're, basing everything on deportation. Doesn't mean we won't be deporting. We will. And we'll deport as hard and as fast as we can where the circumstances, justify it.
It might cause riots, though.
No.
I'm thinking about,
the administration of justice doesn't cause riots.
That Roma family, whatever you're supposed to call it, traveller family, or whoever it was, although they were actually from Romania, I think, with the kids. They went in to get the kids because the kids weren't, whatever. That caused, in Leeds, was it? Caused riots. So imagine going into society.
You just have to be ready for it, and you can't be blackmailed out of doing what is right on the basis that some people might misbehave as a result. You can't do that. What you have to do is what I still believe they were quite right to do after the Southport riots, is to come down with exemplary sentences. And that's the way you nip these things in the bud. I can remember the football hooligans, which was big, big, big in my time. And all sorts of methods were proposed, football identity cards and goodness knows what else. In the end, it was the judges coming down like a ton of bricks.
Did they get locked up for years?
Some of them did.
Wow. Are you a football fan?
No, I don't know one end of a football from the other.
Oh. Well, it's a circle.
I know. I don't know one end of the circle from the other.
Or a sphere, I suppose. If I'm
a sphere.
Yeah. There's people in the comments who go, "It's not a circle, you idiot. It's a sphere." That's YouTube, isn't it? Oh man, I can just see it being this apocalyptic, and I don't disagree. By the way, I think that's probably what has to happen. But they'll go into homes and say, "Listen, we got to get you out now," and there's going to be riots.
Well, as I say, you cannot be blackmailed into not doing what you have to do. By threats of riots, misbehaviour, violence, whatever it might be. You have to contain that at the time.
Do you work closely with Nigel Farage?
Fairly closely. What's
he like in real life?
Fine. His reputation is of being quite autocratic, but in fact he's not. He does listen. And I worked with him in the European Parliament, where we were both MEPs. And I don't have as much to do with him now, but still from time to time I will talk to him.
Is he essentially, he's the boss though, is it? Would he ever say, "Anne, I need you to say this and that"?
We could always try, but I wouldn't say this or that if I didn't actually agree with this or that.
But that's a difficult thing about politics, isn't it? I've just been reading Sarah Vine's book about Michael Gove, and there is this, to what extent do you go, well, this guy's the guy in charge of the party, we've sort of got to do what he does?
No, I mean, the Conservative Party has never, nor the Labour Party, has never been one man dictating, and Reform isn't either. It's much more collegiate than that, because if you try to run a dictatorship, you will run aground, because people just won't cooperate.
Well, that's what some people are accusing Nigel of with regards to sort of Rupert, Lowe, Ben Habib and all these people sort of, behind the scenes. What's going on there?
Nothing's going on. I mean, we're a political party. There are going to be fallouts. I mean, I don't know any political party where you don't have those sorts of problems from time to time. Not even the Lib Dems, nice softies, allegedly. Not even them. You get personal fallouts. That's normal. And I say to everybody, and they say, well, is it all over now? And I say, we've got another 4 years to go. There's bound to be another row in the course of the 4 years. We're not different from other parties in that sense.
I see.
People feel very strongly about politics. They think this policy is right and no other policy will do. And you've got to spend your time compromising, dealing. And it was a big difference between Thatcher and Major. Thatcher had a huge majority. Major had a tiny majority. And everybody expected him to be as effective as Thatcher with a fraction of her majority. And of course, you can't be. You've got to wheel and deal the whole time.
It's been interesting watching Farage's rise from almost a figure of fun to now somebody who might run the country. Do you believe he will be Prime Minister?
Yes, I do.
It's quite remarkable. Has that happened before, that someone outside Labour and Conservative had a Prime Minister?
Well, I mean, you've got to go back 100 years or so, when Labour first came on the scene, came out of nothing. And that's exactly what Reform's done. We've come out of nothing. And just as the origins of the Labour movement were the trade unions, the origins of Reform were Brexit. And we've grown out of that.
Did it take a sort of a state of emergency, really, regarding immigration for this to happen?
It takes two things. It takes a huge disillusionment with mainstream parties, and we've got that at the moment. I mean, bearing in mind the unholy mess that Labour is making, the Conservatives should really be making big advances, and they're falling back. And that is because I think the nation has come to the conclusion that they need something different. Now, the interesting thing was that in the 2024 election, I lost count of the number of people who said to me, well, I really want to vote Reform, but if I do that, Labour might get in or the Tories might get in, the party they didn't want might get in. Now they know that if they vote Reform, they get Reform, and that will completely change the ballgame.
This is unprecedented territory.
Well, the precedent would be 100 years ago when Labour came out of nothing. Yep.
Do Reform have the I don't know how it works in government. Do they have the infrastructure to make this work?
Yes, we're building it. We're building it.
What is that? What does that mean? People say it all the time. What's infrastructure in this sense?
Well, the infrastructure, I mean, for example, you've got to have policy groups and you've got to have people who are working on that, and you've got to have a process for determining at the end of the day what exactly you're going to do with it. You need to build a team that looks as if it could be a future cabinet and which is visible. All these things have to be done. We were heavily focused right up to this summer. We were heavily focused on the local elections. And of course, we did splendidly. Now we've got to put the focus somewhere else. Getting candidates for the general election, getting a team that can be a cabinet, and getting policy. So it just, your priorities shift according to what stage you're at. But when you consider, that 3 years ago we hardly existed, it's not too bad, is it?
It's remarkable, really. Do you know what went down with Rupert Lowe, what actually happened?
I think you had a pretty sizable personality clash there. And you're going to get that in all parties.
There were the allegations of bullying, and then he came out and said, it got all mad, didn't it?
Well, all those things were examined and dealt with.
Do you think modern feminism has gone wrong? Has that been a big part of what's happened here?
I think, I'm not going to call it modern feminism because I regard myself as a feminist in as much as I think, women should have equal opportunities. But I think we've gone way beyond that. And in the 70s, when the women's lib movement was really just starting, in the 70s, our tune was, give us the opportunity, we'll show you we're as good as, if not better than the men. That was the thing, give us the opportunity. By the 90s, that had shifted out of all recognition, and it was, oh dear, we need special treatment. We need our paths to be smoothed. We need positive discrimination. We need the men to be excluded. Complete opposite to what we'd all stood for in the 70s, the complete opposite. And I think, I'm not going to call it feminism because I don't call that feminism. I call that being a wimp. But I think that has had a deleterious effect. If you look at the quality of Parliament, it is nothing like it was. We have nothing like the big people there. Where are your Lawsons, your Thatchers, if you look on the other side, your Shirley Williams, your Barbara Castles, where are they? And the answer is that over the course of about 25 years, the major parties have all gone for a form of positive discrimination. In the Labour Party, it's all women shortlists. In the Tory Party, it was the A-list. And therefore, suddenly, you're not selecting on merit, you're selecting on quota. And I personally witnessed that in a selection committee, so I know what goes on.
What did you witness?
I tell you exactly what I witnessed. The selection committee wanted to put 4 people on its final shortlist. 3 were men and 1 was a woman. And they were told, you can't do that. You've got to have 2 men and 2 women. Well, the next woman was a long way behind. A long way behind. There were men in between. And I said to the central office agent at the time, I said, are you telling us we can't select on merit? And he was very honest. He said, yes. And then I said to him, what happens if we do? And he said, we'll invalidate the selection.
That's insane.
Well, even more insane is the Labour Party policy of all women shortlists, because supposing you're a man who has grown up in an area, brought his own children up in that same area, knows every school, hospital, everything, perhaps a big record of success in local business or whatever it might be, and he wants to have a go at the seat when it falls vacant, he can't because it's reserved for a woman, all-woman shortlist. Mad. Absolute madness. Now, if you do that for 2 or 3 years, it doesn't make any difference. You do that for 25 years, and you're building a parliament that is not based on merit.
It's really scary.
Well, I'm fairly scared by it, yeah.
The thing is, because women have babies and things, and
yes,
often, and that means that you're always, so even if men and women are completely equal and equally, good at all of these things, you're going to have a good portion of women who sort of bow out of that race. Yeah. So the ones that stick around are not, you're not going to have the best of the best necessarily. So really, I suppose in Parliament, these big jobs, you should, if everything's based on merit, maybe have slightly more men. Does that make sense?
Well, I understand exactly what you're saying. But I always say, right, okay, Thatcher got there without any help at all. There was no positive discrimination. Mm. She had twins. She was a mum. There were lots of other women there in my time who were also mothers who had children. Some of them had indeed done what you've just described. They took a complete career break while they brought the kids up. Then they went back into politics. It's a profession you can go into, at virtually any age, so it doesn't matter. And I believe it's very much down to the woman how she manages it. But all I want is to make sure that she's not selected just because she's a woman.
I like that you've got, is it received pronunciation how you speak?
That's what it's called.
And you roll your R's.
Do I, by gum?
Yeah, I just find it...
By gum, I roll my R's. That's probably the West Country. Arr.
Yeah. Oi. That's all I can sort of. Oi there. Was Spanish and things like that at school, were they easier for you? Did they come easier to do that R?
I was not a good modern linguist at school. I was a classicist. I did Latin and Greek, which of course are dead.
But they probably have their R as well.
Well, yes, but there is no pronunciation because they're dead languages.
Yeah. So
you never hear them spoken, and you have to derive what you think was the pronunciation from things like, for example, how do they represent animal sounds? Now we all know what a cow sounds like. So if it's a moo, we can say, oh, that's how they represented it. So that's how you pronounce that group of letters. Things like that.
That's fascinating.
Oh, yeah. You look at all sorts of things like that to derive pronunciation. But they're dead, effectively. So nobody's going to turn around and say to you, except in the context of church Latin, because it's alive in the Vatican, nobody's going to turn around and say to you, you've got that pronunciation wrong.
Fascinating how they started Hebrew again, didn't they? And I don't know, they probably just guessed half of it.
I don't know.
Interesting. That's another thing dying out, though. I hardly know anyone. In fact, you might be the only person I've spoken to in recent years who does roll their R's.
I have no idea. I never even knew I did roll my R's, though people have told me that I do. So you're not the first person to tell me that.
The Scots do it as well, and it's not as sort of posh when they do it. Unless it's a posh Edinburgh accent.
I find a really intense Scottish accent, I'm not talking about Edinburgh, but a really intense Scottish accent, very difficult sometimes to hear properly. And you get used to it after a while. I mean, if you holiday in Scotland for a week, at the end of the week, you understand what is being said. But I'm often quite surprised. I think, come on, they're speaking English to me. They're not speaking some foreign lingo. They're speaking English, and I can't get it.
But it's a dialect, isn't it? There is
Yes.
a dialect. It's sort of Scots dialect.
But most dialects are fairly soft. You know what the person is saying. Welsh is wonderful because it's sing-song.
Oh, it's a lovely
And you
language.
can't miss it. You can't miss it because every syllable is pronounced. It's wonderful. But Scots can be quite difficult.
Why do you have received pronunciation? Did you grow up in a sort of upper echelons, or was it a generation thing?
Probably a generation thing. I don't know. I mean, I went to boarding school. I don't know.
Do you worry about our declining population, especially for aging, and what do we do about that?
Well, I'm not sure what you do about it, because I think the decline is on several levels. First of all, women are postponing having babies until quite late. That's, and sometimes they leave it too late. That's one problem. I think another problem is very simply that these days it's quite difficult to run a large family on a modern budget, unless you're, I was about to say J. Paul Getty, that's old-fashioned, but no, I know you wouldn't. He was the world's first billionaire a long, long time ago. But unless you're seriously rich, it can be quite difficult to raise a large number of children. Now, some people do, and they say it's nonsense. It's perfectly possible. But you need to be quite canny to do it. Also, I think it's not fashionable to have a lot of children. People will actually criticise you and say, you're putting a strain on the Earth's resources. And then 5 minutes later, somebody criticises you and says, only one child, that's bad for the population growth. So I always say, just do what you want to do and don't worry about the Earth's resources and the population growth.
Do you have children?
No, I'm not married.
And do you have regrets with regards to that, or is it?
No.
It's just right for you.
No, if you said to me, would I rather have had children than not, I'd probably say yes. But with no more stress than if you said to me, well, would you rather have been a millionaire or not? Or would you rather have been prime minister than not? I'm going to say yes. But actual active regret, no, that isn't there.
Would you have liked to be prime minister?
Oh, yes. Now there I can say yes with great conviction.
It's a funny one. Who was it that said, that those who want the power should never have it? Something like that.
I can't remember.
But you know what I mean.
I do know exactly what you mean. And I think if you're in it solely, to become something or other, that's not such a good idea. But if you want to be prime minister in order to do things and you think it might give you a bit more elbow room in order to do it, then that's fair enough.
Is there some sort of conceivable future whereby Farage steps down and you can sort of navigate your way to that?
I'm 77 now.
Younger than Trump?
Well, that's not much of a recommendation. And Biden even worse.
Yeah.
I'm 77 now. By the time of the next election, I'll be 81. If I were to stand for the House of Commons and if I were to get in, I would be 85 by the time of the following election. I do not see myself. The legislative process, yes, I could handle that. The constituency work is heavy. It's arduous. If you do it badly, you let people down. You've got to do it well. I can't handle that in my 80s.
Women live long, though, don't they? I was talking to Richard Dawkins the other day.
Yes.
And he was telling me his parents, I believe, lived well into their hundreds. And when I say well into, I don't mean they were 170, but they were quite, so I think he sees being in his 80s as kind of, as middle-aged almost.
Well, my mother lived to be 96, just short of 96. And my father was 89. Okay. And so I similarly, I'm not looking at the Grim Reaper at the moment. That's just how I feel. I'm not, I could die tomorrow, could die walking out of the studio. That always happens at any age, but particularly in advanced age. But I don't really think that way because my parents lived that much longer. And so I think, I'll probably live that long. I may not, but that's what's at the back of my mind.
See, I always think about dying.
Oh, you cheerful soul.
I know. At like night, I'm thinking about it.
At night?
Yeah, well, better than the day. Imagine running around in the day thinking about it.
I wouldn't think about it at all if I were you.
Well, you can't help it, can you?
Yes.
Just try not to.
Just focus on life. I mean, at your age, what the heck are you thinking about dying for?
Well, in this grand scheme of the cosmos, it's being 36 or 70. What were you, 77?
77.
It's a blink of an eye. And then it's just gone. Do you believe in an afterlife?
I'm a Christian, of course I do.
I don't know if they all do.
They do. Yeah. You know, if you don't believe in the afterlife, if you don't believe in heaven, you're not a Christian.
Do dogs go?
That I don't know. And theologians disagree.
Really?
Yep. And I always say, well, you know, I'll find out when it happens.
There'd just be loads of them, wouldn't it?
But they just don't. Well, they don't have souls. But you know, whether there are going to be dogs and cats there, I don't know. I would rather like to be reunited with all my cats.
Yeah.
We could all sit together in an armchair because they wouldn't fight in heaven.
Oh, wouldn't that be lovely? It's a lovely image. I love animals. I'm obsessed. So I love that image. What do you think is the opinion for which you've received the most backlash?
Oh, you pay your money and you take your choice, quite honestly. Women priests, abortion, gay marriage.
Let's go with gay marriage. That's a good one.
You want to go with gay marriage? Okay,
yes,
go with it.
Okay. My wife will be surprised, but I'll go for someone. No, but what do you? I suppose we need, because marriage and civil what is it?
Partnerships
have
totally different
rules and things.
Yeah.
So that's the issue, isn't it? You need some sort of. Why don't you want gay marriage?
Because I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, preferably in a long-term relationship. And obviously, if they're married, it's a legal relationship and open to children. It may not happen, of course, but open to children. That is what I believe that marriage is, and that is what I think society's preferred model should be. Doesn't mean that you reject everybody outside that model, but I think society needs a preferred model. And I have always held to that. Now, what I said in the House of Commons when we were debating, because I was there for civil partnerships, I had just left when we got into gay marriage. But when it came to civil partnerships, what I said in the House of Commons was, if you want to resolve unkindnesses, like, for example, next of kin and inheritance, do it through those laws. Do it through the individual laws, but don't create something that apes marriage. And that was because I knew that it would actually become marriage, so it was only a matter of time. The only thing I didn't predict was that it would be the Tories who did it. And, of course, the irony is that Cameron only got it through the Commons. The majority of his MPs voted against it. He was carried through by Labour.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It always seems to be the Tories, though, doesn't it? Because it's like they're the ones who have had the women in charge.
Yes, and the ethnics, you know, that's us.
Horrible,
that's us.
Horrible.
No, it's not horrible at all. I mean,
I think it's nice.
It is straightforwardly that to us it's not an issue. Those who make it a big issue and prattle about it, you know, don't actually do it.
Yeah.
But those for whom it's not an issue, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether the Prime Minister's a woman, whether the Prime Minister is black, whether the Prime Minister is disabled, whether the Prime Minister is anything else. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. But the instant you start saying, oh, this, you know, it's wrong and you've got to make sure that, you know, you have so many women and so many from an ethnic minority, etc. The instant you start doing that, you lose it.
I suppose with gay marriage, it's a lovely thing to be able to do, have a wedding when you love someone, right? That's nice. You wouldn't want to take that away from people because they're gay, would you?
Well, you say take it away. I mean, it wasn't there until, you know, the proposal came.
It's true.
And what I said was, at the time, you know, it may be nothing to do with me until the moment when, as a legislator, I'm asked to change the law. And then I am entitled to take a view. And that was the case. It wasn't that we took something away. It was that it was never there.
How do you feel about just like gay people in general?
Same as I feel about anybody else.
But shouldn't
exactly
you feel
the same as I feel about anybody else.
Shouldn't you feel that they are sinful or something?
No, why should I feel that?
Is it not a sin as Sodom and
Lots
Gomorrah?
of things are sins. Lots of things are sins. You've sinned this morning. I've sinned this morning.
Did you see me? No. What? Yes.
There are all sorts of sins. Impatience is a sin. Losing your temper is a sin. Wishing ill on anybody is a sin. There is an awful lot of sinfulness that, because we have lost the concept of Christianity and we don't really know what it teaches, we think, oh, those things aren't really sins. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And, there is no such thing as, well, that's wrong, but it's not a sin. If it's wrong, it's a sin. Now, it may not be as great a sin as child murder or something, but it's still a sin. I don't take this view. I mean, various people have asked me that, except, oddly enough, gay people themselves have never asked me that because they know it doesn't bother me. It's their business. It's their business. Until they ask me to change the law, then it becomes my business.
Marriage is a different thing, isn't it, to judging the act itself of...
I'm not concerned with the act itself. There are all sorts of heterosexual practices of which I disapprove. Do you think I go around thinking, well, I bet you did that, you're sinning? Nonsense, come on.
Well, there was, not you, but that in religions in general, there has been a kind of, and I like how you say that because there are so many different sins that are ignored.
Yeah, huge
and
number.
Homosexuality, for some reason, people zoned in on.
Yes, well, I don't know why they've zoned in on, except that as usual, and it's happening with the woke stuff and the transgender stuff, that those who believe something want to inflict it on everybody else. And they don't like it if you resist. Now, interestingly, there was a very good article against gay marriage at the time, written by Andrew Pearce of the Daily Mail, who is actually, very openly gay and is in a civil partnership. And he he wrote against gay marriage. Now, nobody's going to call him homophobic. Nobody's going to call him bigoted, because patently, obviously, isn't. It's his view. Well, why can't heterosexuals also have that view?
I think a lot. Well, I guess people are just concerned about that obsession from some religious people about gay. I wonder.
The obsession, actually, you see, you homed in right away. I gave you a selection. I gave you abortion. I gave you women priests. I gave you gay marriage. You homed in immediately. And if you'd asked me to predict which will he home in on, I'd have said that one, because everybody does home in on it, but I don't. I never think about it until I'm challenged.
Abortion's a hot topic, though, at the moment.
Well, what we've got at the moment is unbelievably wicked. Well, that amendment is unbelievably wicked, assuming that it passes into law.
See, I've gone back and forward about this because I totally understand that side, and I think most of my viewers will probably be on your side with that. Is it a very subtle and blurred almost difference between not criminalising something and sort of making it legal and accepted? Because you don't want to encourage young women to do that, especially late term pregnancy. But also, when they've already done it, is it really a good idea to put those people in prison?
Well, again, it comes down to deterrence and the law. And in fact, people don't go to prison on the whole for abortion. It would need to be very late term indeed. Now, what has happened now is that Parliament has just, through that amendment, legalised very late term or decriminalised very late term abortions. So quite suddenly we have a situation. Now, when the limit was 24 weeks for social abortions, we had a situation in which you could have two children of exactly the same age and exactly the same gestation. This one was lying in a cot with all the resources of medical science being poured in to save it. This one, who is exactly the same, was being taken from the womb and destroyed. And the only difference between them was the will of the mother. Now you think what we've got abortion up to birth, if this amendment is finally in law, abortion up to birth. So that means that a child has full civil rights when it's born. A few hours before, it hasn't got any. Now, that isn't right. It just isn't right. And I think the biggest disaster was in 1990 when the Infant Life Preservation Act was decoupled from the Abortion Act. And when we had the Infant Life Preservation Act, there was a presumptive line of 28 weeks. Anything over that, you had to justify time. And we got rid of that. And it's now led to a thoroughly stupid situation, which I actually say in my recent Substack, whereby if a man kicks a woman in the stomach and kills a very advanced unborn child. It's not called murder. It's called child destruction. Why isn't it called murder? Because if you were going to call it murder, then what would you actually call it if it was done as an abortion?
It's weird it would be called child destruction. Because
that's what it's called.
Because that's a child is not a fetus.
I agree. Child destruction.
It's all very murky, isn't it? I see what you're saying.
No, it's complex. It's not murky. It's complex.
What's the difference in that
between
sense?
Complex and murky? Well, if something's murky, it's not terribly clear. But something can be clear and also very complex.
Bloody hell. It's really where do you stand on sort of, after a few weeks, someone's just realised they're pregnant?
Well, I'm a Roman Catholic, and it's still a child. As far as I'm concerned, once it's conceived, it should have full rights. But if the law actually came down to 14, 16 weeks, I could live with that, because at least what you wouldn't be doing is tearing apart a sentient being.
Yeah, you can't be doing it up to near birth. That's absurd.
Well, I'm afraid that's what that amendment says, and I just wonder how many people, all the papers have covered it and commented on it, but I just wonder how many people have really taken in what it's done.
Well, it caused quite a stir, but it's almost like some people were so desperate to have this kind of, the pro-choice side, which I'm probably on with the early stages, that they go so, it was like you said before, every human rights push or campaign seems to go too far, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the pendulum always swings too far. It always does.
Hell. How was Big Brother?
Big Brother. I had said to my agent, the two words, because I changed agents, and to the new agent I said, the two words I never want to hear from you are big and brother. And I just don't want it. And I said, I don't care if they offer me $1 million. I don't want to do it. Just don't bring it to me. And then in 2017, I've told a lie, I think it may have been 2018, because it was 100 years of women's suffrage. He rang me up and he said, now, just let me sort of finish the sentences. And I said, Big Brother, no. And he said, just let me finish. And they were proposing to do an unusual type of Big Brother, which they actually wanted to call Big Sister, but the channel wouldn't wear it. They wanted to call it Big Sister because it was designed to be a celebration of 100 years of women's suffrage. And it was designed to have more serious debates than usual and more serious people than usual and all this sort of stuff. So I said to Andrew, my agent, I said, oh, yeah, I believe that. And then he said, well, if they don't deliver on that, he said, you're not in the jungle, you're not in Australia, you're in Elstree, just walk out. He said, you won't get paid, but just walk out.
Down the road from here.
Yeah. And so I thought, okay, I'll give it a whirl. Now, I believed, first of all, I didn't believe that these debates were going to be serious, et cetera, but I did believe that probably within a week, I would either be eliminated or I would just walk out. Apparently, the whole production team thought the same thing. I became the runner-up 4 weeks later. If you'd said that to me, that was going to happen, I wouldn't have believed it.
But this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. Ann Widdecombe, controversial, boo, boo, we don't like her. And then, well, actually, the public do because they vote for you. These are normal people.
I think what they liked was I said what I thought.
Well, yeah.
I said it nicely. I didn't yell at people. But I said what I thought. So, for example, I stood up for capital punishment and one or two other things that were very unpopular. But I stuck to it because that was what I thought. And I think people, even if they don't agree with you, they do quite like it when you just stand for what you believe.
Absolutely. And also because we're so used to these media-trained politicians, and not just even the football players now. They've all got media training. Everyone's very careful. You used to have these really outspoken guys and they would say whatever. Nobody does. And so when someone does come, even if, as you say, if they don't agree with you on capital punishment, if they don't agree on gay marriage or abortion, they want to hear it.
All those things came up,
Yeah, they want to hear the argument.
Yeah, and I think also, if it's you versus everybody else, as it frequently was on Big Brother, there is the British sympathy for the underdog.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had Jim Davidson on this show, and he won Celebrity Big Brother. And again, the all controversial boo, Jim Davison. Oh, he's out old-fashioned. We don't like. They loved him.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
What a world we live in. I've got another question for you, but first, where can people find your work, your Substack, all those things?
Right. Well, my Substack's easy enough. You simply Google Ann Widdecombe Substack and you'll get it. Mm-hmm. I also have a Woody Web, but that is largely to enable people to communicate with me. It's hardly ever updated. It's just one of those.
Oh, Woody Web. I've seen that.
Oh, the Woody Web. Yes, the Woody Web. It's got my cats on, for example.
Lovely.
Or previous cats. Because I don't do social media. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on LinkedIn. Not in any of it. And the only thing I do is my Substack. And the only reason I do that is because at the beginning of this year, I lost my job, which I'd had for more than 20 years on the Express. And I used to have a full page, and I was a columnist. And that went quite unexpectedly. And I thought, well, hang on, I still want to contribute to the public forum. So how do I publish my views without the newspaper? And it was Zia Yusuf, actually, in Reform, who said to me, Substack. So that's why I do the Substack. Twice a week I post. Widdy on Wednesday and Weekend Widdy. And really, it's just the same as my Express column.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I hope people will check that out. We'll put the links to it in the
Thank you.
Below.
Yeah.
Who's a heretic you admire?
Nigel Lawson. His big heresy was climate change. Now, at a time when everybody was swallowing every last thing about climate emergencies and everything else, he said, hang on, let's just take a good look at this. And he wrote a book called An Appeal to Reason, which was rejected by British publishers who were too afraid to publish it, published it abroad. And I read An Appeal to Reason from cover to cover. And I thought, yes, at long last, somebody is getting a sense of proportion into the climate change debate. And of course, it was regarded as such heresy that, as I say, you couldn't initially find a publisher in this country. Pretty good heresy, Nigel. Of course, he's gone there, but yeah. Oh,
that's a great heretic. And the first for Nigel Lawson.
Nigel Lawson.
Not to be confused with Nigella Lawson.
Oh, no, absolutely nothing to do with Nigella, no.
Is that her name, Lawson?
Yeah.
I got that right.
Yeah, she is. She's his daughter.
Is she?
Yes.
Nigel called his daughter Nigella?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Well, that's heresy.
Well, the wife might have wanted it for all you know. The wife might have said, I want to call her Nigella after you.
Sorry, if my wife said that we're going to have a kid called Andrea,
yes,
I'm not having that. That's mental.
Well, that's up to you. I don't think it's mental. I mean, a lot of parents call their children after them.
I think that's one thing. So-and-so, the junior, senior, the second.
Well, that's exactly the same thing, except you can't call a girl Nigel, so she was called Nigella.
You'd never know you'd not know till the end of the word if someone calls for you. Niger, which one of you is it going to be? You'd always have, Well, I'm just saying.
I mean, I think that is the least compelling reason for not calling your child after one of the parents. I really don't see why you shouldn't.
My mum has the same first initial as me.
Yeah.
So
you open each other's letters by accident. Yeah.
And I started to suspect that she wasn't doing it by accident. So I don't know. Well, we'll put a comment below. Would you call your daughter or son the same sort of name with a little A on the end of what's that? Not a suffix or prefix. What's the end?
The end is a suffix.
It's a suffix with a suffix at the. Would you do that? Would tell me what you do? Please go and follow Ann Widdecombe's. We've got the Substack, the Woody Web. I'll put there as well. Why not? And some links down below. She's been wonderful. So go follow her and read her twice weekly articles. Hit this like button and keep watching this channel. Just a reminder about my sponsor, MyHeritage. Start your journey now with a 14-day free trial using my link below or scan the QR code on screen to get started.